Alright, hello and welcome. So today I'm going to be explaining the Ironclad Rhino build. Why am I doing that? Because this build gets asked about a hell of a lot on stream, and that means one of two things. Either one, people don't know how this build works and they just really want to know. Or two, this build's really not popular and you don't see it a lot. And if either of those are true, this video will probably help some people. So with that, this is the build, and it gets its namesake from Ironclad Charge, which is the #1 augment for Rhino. This augment is very, very good, and is helped along with Iron Shrapnel as well, which allows you to refresh your Iron Skin and also turn your Iron Skin into damage. Both of these augments are very, very good, and I would say basically required for this build. You can do this build without Iron Shrapnel, but that puts some very, very hefty restrictions on you, and I would say will often get you killed in the long run. With that, this build obviously has incredibly high power strength, and I will say that if you either don't like, if you're not going to have Zeneric running, and you really don't want to go that low on efficiency, you can replace Blind Rage with an Intensify, and that totally works. It's not going to be as effective, but it totally works, and your abilities are going to be way cheaper. So go for it if you're feeling that. Steel Fiber is definitely a mod you want to have in this build, and is very important because building up a lot of armor is what is the goal of this build overall. With that, I am using 2 full sets of Arcane Ultimatum. I'm going to be brutally honest here. This is you don't even need 1 set of Arcane Ultimatum. This is just memes. For those that don't know what this does, it adds 600 armor per set, and I'm using 2 sets. So that gives me 1200 armor anytime I do a standing melee finisher that kills the enemy. That is quite good, and if you're going to be stacking a hell of a lot of armor, this is a bunch more armor to add on to that. So you can do this. Obviously, you have an opportunity here to instead use one of these slots with an Arcane Energize, which I know is very, very expensive, but this will alleviate a lot of your energy woes, which is really nice. But for this video, I'm just going to show off the really stupid memes of Arcane Ultimatum, because it's not good. Let's not pretend it's good, but it is absolutely hilarious, and it works. It technically works, and that's what's important. So with that, let's show off what this actually does. I am, before we begin, going to show what my Ferrofang is, as this is using Exodia Contagion, which allows me to shoot a projectile that explodes and does damage. This will kill me, so we're going to show that real quick like. So, just beforehand, you can see that at base, my Iron Skin has 6,711 Parrot Armor, which is very good. This will get you through quite a number of missions. However, it will not save me from the wrath of the Exodia that's on this Ferrofang. I will die, even through Iron Skin. So we'd, of course, like to solve that problem, because dying's no good. So, oh, I already have these enemies out here. So we have these guys. So I've turned their AI off for obvious reasons. And if we use R1 to charge through them, you can see those 4 enemies that I hit gave me a 508% bonus. So if we put this on, that is going to be a value of 25,000, adding about 5,000 or so per enemy, which is very, very good, as this is about 5 times as much Iron Skin, and it's actually a little bit more than Trinity's usual EHP that she sits at, which is really good. This gives us the ability to survive at high levels, and is the main combo, or well, I guess the only combo really, that this build has. With that, just to show that, obviously, if we do this again, in the top right, you can see Ironclad Charge has a duration, and this is a question I get all the time is, well, whenever that duration runs out, don't you lose that amount of Iron Skin? And I can see why people would think that, because if we wait for it to run out, and it's off now, we can go into our abilities menu, and we can see that this number has returned to normal. So the special thing about Iron Skin, and the reason that this ability works, and also part of the reason that these augments are well designed to work with Iron Skin, and why Rhino is such a just awesome, cohesive Warframe overall, is that Iron Skin is a snapshot ability like a channel. So what that means is that any buffs that you currently have on you, whether that is an armor buff from Chroma, a power strength buff from Nidus, growing power, which is an aura, all those temporary buffs, if any of those are affecting you when you hit 2 to put on Iron Skin takes all of those and puts them into your iron skin, and then you keep that iron skin that you put on. So the value that we're seeing in the abilities menu is not the value of our current on iron skin. This is the value of iron skin we would get if we took this iron skin off and put one on right now. Showcase that. Obviously, I showed you earlier that I die whenever this Pharaoh Fang hits me with my base iron skin. That is not true of this boosted iron skin. As you can very clearly see, it only did about half the armor of this iron skin. So, that is very, very good that it sticks around, because if it didn't, that would make this augment entirely useless, and that would really suck. And then, just to show some just absolutely dumb meme bullshit, let's show Ultimatum. The stance for the dagger that I'm using has a finisher in it, so we can do that. Boom, there we go. Arcane Ultimatum has been procced, and now we can just charge for these guys. And I think I only hit 3 of them, but whatever. We can take that off, put this new one on, and as we can see, I now have 50,000 or 57,000 ferrite armor, which is quite a number. And obviously these are low enemy counts. Against like infested and stuff, you can get way more armor. And especially if you're corrupted in like a Viscera, you can get just hundreds of thousands of ferrite armor, which is really dumb and not going to happen all the time if you're using this in combination with Arcane Ultimatum. But this build, it's just really awesome. It's a good way to make your Rhino like really tanky and be up there with the tankiness of like Wukong and just like really hard to kill Warframes. So with that, let's add back in the one enemy that's missing from this, because he's a loud, obnoxious asshole, even if his AI is off, which is why he was not here. And we can spawn these guys back in. And we'll just show what this build does, or just kind of in general, to enemies at level 155, which they're totally fine at. And I'll respawn these dudes. So this build also gives you a very good 3 and a very good 4. And also, for those of you that were wondering if the Amprex is still any good, the answer is yes. It is still quite good. You can see that this iron skin is surviving quite a bit. Level 150 enemies are no slouches when it comes to dishing out the damage. There we go. But this damage boost combined with my just ability to survive with this incredible iron skin is going to make this no problem for me. And this is like what Rhino does best. He survives using this like awesome Ironclad combo, and he dishes out a ton of damage. Obviously, that's not all he has, because we have this very good ability of Rhino Stomp, which is just incredible and has always been incredible for a very long stun if we need that. Useful for reviving teammates and things like that. But it's just generally very good. This build, it does everything. If you wanted a build that lets you use every single ability in Rhino's arsenal and just be really strong, buff your teammates, like apply crowd control, all that stuff, this is the build that does that. It is very good, and I would encourage anyone to try it. And then weapon recommendations to go with this. You usually will want at least one AoE weapon like the Amprex, so that you can take that damage buff and like spread that out through a bunch of enemies, especially if you're doing endless missions and things of that like. Really good melee weapons are usually a great thing for Rhino, so things like the Galatine Prime are going to allow him to cleave through huge crowds at very high levels. Things like the Pharaoh Fang are obviously being used as a tool, so I can use Ultimatum, but like I said, you don't have to use Ultimatum with this build. It is by no means required. And then heavy hitters like the Aklex or like one of the sniper rifles, things like that are also great pairs with this, especially if you're going to be fighting like a swordy boss, say like Zargus Wreck or something. So yeah, that is Ironclad Rhino. It is an incredible build that I love. This is probably... I would say this is probably actually my favorite build in the game, just because it is so unique and because the augments add so much to the general playstyle of Rhino overall. But yeah, that is Ironclad Rhino. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you learned something, and I will see you tomorrow.